Thank you everyone in our audience now who's joined us this evening for a live discussion with Claire Wilkins from Temple University and Andrew Kupec from Bryant University, who are joining us from the US, or very early in the morning for them, to talk about their universities and answer all your questions. So, you know, these are two colleges that I think are, you know, very well known in India and quite popular. And Kunal Parekh is here as an alumni representative for Temple, and you know, he's a testament to the popularity of the program among Indian students. So I will let you get started. Andrew, do you want to go ahead and introduce? Oh, let me just first introduce myself. I'm Kim Dixit, the CEO and co-founder of the Red Pen, and we are an independent education consulting company that's been operating out of Mumbai for the last 9 years, supporting students and families with undergraduate applications abroad, not just the US, everywhere. As you can see from our schedule for this week, we've got a lot to cover. And not only undergrad, but also MBA, postgrad, and also boarding schools. We help families make sort of educational decisions at any stage along the way. So that's us, and my partner Namita Mehta is also here joining us this evening to help me out. And yeah, and please do see here, Andrew's gonna take over in a second, but this is the schedule for the rest of the week. We have quite a few interesting colleges to see after this, but this is going to be a good one. So why don't you guys get started? Thanks.
Great. I'll just share my screen here.
I'm sorry, one second, Andrew. I just want to mention to the audience that audience members should have a Q&A box, and you can put any questions you have in that Q&A box, and we will get to them after these presentations. We will then go to the question and answer session. So don't worry if your question is not answered immediately, or if you you know, are asking something before time or whatever. We'll get to it. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Andrew Kupec. I'm the Associate Director of International Admission at Bryant University. I've been at Bryant for about a year, and I've worked in higher education for 7 years. So I hope I can give you a good brief introduction to the school, and then we're definitely here to answer your questions, which I think is very important. But Bryant University was founded in 1863. It was right kind of downtown Providence on the East Coast. And if you're not sure where Providence is, I'll show you a map in a few slides. But the campus was right where Brown University is, if you can picture that. And then in the early 1970s, the gentleman that founded Tupperware, so all the plastic containers, he did pretty well for himself, and he donated 400 acres of land to Bryant University. So we moved the campus kind of right up the road to Smithfield, Rhode Island, where it sits today. So you have kind of a beautiful, picturesque 400 acres of land. It's, you know, one way in, one way out, 24 hours a day. It's monitored, so it's a safe location, and it creates a kind of a bubble and an opportunity for our students to have a safe and intimate learning experience, but still have access to some major cities on the East Coast. One of the things that was really impressive to me when I first joined Bryant was really this incredible trajectory that the school has had. So we've moved up 17 spots in our U.S. News and World category over the last 16 years. Over the last 23 years that President Makeley has been there, we've moved from Bryant College to Bryant University. We've moved from Division II athletics to Division I. We've added a physician's assistant program in the graduate school. We've gone through an incredible campus renovation with the Bryant Builds campaign, which was a $75 million investment into the campus, which included updates to athletic facilities, the physician's assistant program I mentioned, a new campus in China. So some really great things going on at Bryant University, and I'm happy to be able to share with you. So just quick kind of overview. We have 3,500 undergraduate students on campus. So depending on your perspective, it's a small to medium school. Our students come from 38 states and 49 different countries. Myself working with students from all around the world, I'm really happy to see that 49 countries represented, and I'm hoping it continues to grow. About 8% of our students are international, and I would say throughout the entire student body. We have about 70 to 80 students from India that are on campus, and we have about 20 students that will be coming for the class of 2024. To give you a picture of where we're located, so East Coast, like I said, I actually live in Boston, so I'm calling you from Boston. It's about, typically an hour when you factor in traffic, but about 45-minute drive to Boston. We're also right up the road from Providence, as I mentioned, and Providence is the capital of the state of Rhode Island, which is a small state, but it's I describe it as a mini Boston in a way. You have theaters, you have the Providence Place Mall, you have the Dunkin' Donuts Center, which has sporting events and concerts. It also provides a nice hub in terms of internships and a large number of businesses and organizations. We have good relationships within the city of Providence. We're also just 3 hours by train or bus or car to New York City. And the train station in downtown Providence can get you up to Boston or down to New York. And then we also have access to the Rhode Island beaches, and you can go up to New Hampshire and Vermont in 2 hours if you're interested in fall foliage or hiking or some skiing as well. This slide really sums up very quickly the academic experience at Bryant. And it's pretty straightforward and pretty focused. So we have a College of Business and we have a College in Arts and Sciences. There's about 15 majors in each college. And there's over 168 different combinations that students can pursue in terms of mixing and matching majors and minors and concentrations. One of the unique aspects at Bryant, and really a focus, will be an interdisciplinary education. So for all of our students that major in the College of Business, they're required to at least have a minor from the College of Arts and Sciences, and vice versa. If you major in the College of Arts and Sciences, you're required to at least have a minor from the College of Business. And this concept really is for our students that want to go into the business world. Having the skill set from an arts and sciences minor that allows you to think, to write, to communicate, to understand different cultures, to have different perspectives is going to serve you really well in a business career. And then for our students that major in the arts and sciences, understanding basic business concepts, understanding organizations, understanding how to lead and to manage people will serve you very well in your College of Arts and Sciences. And you can even see this as it's a requirement there, but it's even at a course level. So for example, our data science major, there's actually components and courses built in from the arts and sciences. So our teachers are our professors are very focused on implementing this disciplinary approach. And really at the end of the day, we just believe that this is going to make you a well-rounded student, and it's going to prepare you with a background that'll be impressive to employers, but will also really help you progress throughout your career once you leave Bryant University. And I think that is a big takeaway, and a way I would describe Bryant. It is very career focused in the approach. So just quickly, some popular majors. I think we're best known for our international business program. This was ranked number 25 in the country by U.S. News World Report for the last 2 years. We do have an AACSB accredited School of Business, so that's a distinction about only 5% of universities around the world maintain. So there's some good validity in terms of the business courses that we're offering. So some of those other business areas, marketing, accounting, entrepreneurship, finance, have some really great national recognition. Also, our applied mathematics program is terrific. There are some co-op opportunities that also comes along with actuarial mathematics. And then also from the area of arts and sciences, biology, communication, economics, psychology, and global studies are some popular areas from there. In the last slide, I kind of mentioned the career-focused approach at Bryant. So in our IB program, students actually have the opportunity in their second year to go abroad and conduct an internship. It's faculty-led. We have set up internships and experiential learning opportunities in those abroad opportunities. And in the finance program, we have something called the Archway Investment Fund, which is a student-run fund. It started out with money given from the Board of Trustees, and students have now turned it into a $1.8 million fund where they're actually presenting, stock. So a lot of us say it is very valuable. in the classroom, we have a 13-to-1 student to faculty ratio. Classes will be taught by people that are experts in the field that you want to pursue. Our teachers have 5 required office hours. They're very available to students. They're very engaged with the undergraduate learning experience. Average class size of 26. Larger than 35 students. To kind of sum it up, it's, again, I think more that we'll talk about throughout the rest of this and some of the things I shared. Last year, 99% of Bryant students were employed or in graduate school upon 6 months from graduation. We have a terrific Amica Center for Career Education, which was ranked top 20 in the country by Princeton Review. They're there for you every step of the way in your career education and your preparation. We're pretty proud of this statistic in terms of our graduates. And they also, last year's class had a starting median salary of $60,000, and we're pretty proud of that return on investment. So I don't want to go on too long, but I think we'll talk more about the application process. Ours is pretty straightforward. We're on the common application. We have the early decision, early action, early decision 2, and regular decision deadline. Bryant is test score optional. So we do give students the opportunity to submit their test scores or to waive their test scores and write a replacement supplemental test score optional essay. It's truly test score optional in the sense whether you submit your scores or waive your scores, it's the same chance of admission and the same chance at scholarships, just depending on your performance on either your test scores or the essay that you write. We are very grade focused. We look at your curriculum, how you challenge yourself in terms of what is offered at your high school. So our average GPA is about a 3.4 on a 4.0 US GPA scale, and the average SAT is about 1240. But I don't want to take up too much more time. I will turn it over to Claire, and I'll allow her to give an introduction on Temple University.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So much, Andrew.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you, everyone. So again, my name is Claire Wilkins, and I'm the Director of International Admissions at Temple University. We are a large public university based in Philadelphia on the East Coast of the United States, the second largest city on the East Coast. Sixth largest city in the United States, about an hour. And we are, as I mentioned, a large public and undergraduate students on campus. Our average class sizes are fewer than 30 students in a class. So certainly you have that, that student to teacher ratio that allows you to from a professor rather than from teaching assistants or graduate students, really directly connecting with your professor. Not only are we granted year in Rome come to Philadelphia for the rest of their degree. We offer over 150 different areas of study across all areas of study, from the performing arts, the fine arts, the natural sciences, social sciences, business, engineering, the humanities, and sort of everything in between. So essentially, if there's something you're looking for, chances are that Temple has it in one way, shape, or form, either as a major, a minor, a certificate program. Lots of different options for students to combine their interests. So if you're a student who's interested in business, but you're also interested in music, you can combine those areas of study at Temple. If you're a student who is interested in chemistry, but you're also interested in studio art, for example, you'd be able to combine those areas as well. So we encourage the interdisciplinary study of multiple areas of interest, and as many liberal arts and science institutions across the US give you that time and that flexibility to decide what it is you want to study within that first year to year and a half of your degree. So you can know exactly what it is you want to study if you come to Temple, but you can also apply undecided and take some time to kind of explore and become inspired, especially if there are some courses, subjects that you haven't yet had a chance to explore at the high school level, or to encounter. You have a chance to kind of really look into those areas while still on a path towards your full degree program. We are a Research 1 institution, meaning that we are involved in the highest level of research of US universities. And so students, whether that's research in the sciences or research in other areas, whether that's history or in film, our students are all able to be engaged in research at an undergraduate level. So from as early as sometimes your first semester, you can engage in your own research or be involved in research with some of our world-class professors as well. Pardon me. We are a Division I institution for athletics, so we have over 16 varsity sports that students can be recruited to as an athlete and compete in the highest level of sport as well. So if that's something that you're looking for at a university, if you are currently a regional or nationally ranked athlete, and that's something that you want to continue, you can certainly do that at Temple as well. Temple is, as I mentioned, a very global institution with our 3 campuses, but also with our student population. So we have over 3,000 international students hailing from over 130 different countries. So being part of an international community is something that really is at the core of Temple University. You can see here in the slide, this is looking into Philadelphia, into the city. We are an urban campus at Temple. And so we are based in the heart of the city. The building you can see here on the left is actually one of our newest dormitories. It's called Morgan Hall, and this is where many of our international students live, and where our living learning communities are as well. In our residential halls, our students have the opportunity to live with students who have similar interests. So whether that may be international students or students who are interested in film or in cuisine or whatever it might be, our students have the opportunity to live in these who do deposit by our suggested deposit deadline of May 1st, but students also live off campus as well. Certainly an urban campus where we are in the heart of the city, but very much a defined campus. When you come to Temple, you know you are there. You know when you're in the center of our campus and the green lawns where a lot of our students sort of sit out in the sun during the summer months and spring. We really do truly have a campus, but are also steps from being on the streets of Philadelphia as well, intermixing with tourists and locals, and really we feed on and connect with the city for everything from our social lives on campus to the academic community as well. If you are a Temple, if you're interested in Temple, you can choose to come to our main campus for your full degree. You can study abroad in locations all around the world, including our campuses in Rome and in Tokyo. You can decide to start in Tokyo and then spend some time in Philadelphia or Rome. And as I mentioned, you could start your first year in Rome and then come to Philadelphia. So lots of opportunities to study in Temple programs all around the world, whether it's for 6 weeks over your summer or for a semester, or even for up to a year, to really truly have that global experience. We do have the 12 schools and colleges at Temple, and so you will be looking at either a program in, say, our business school or our engineering school, but as I mentioned, you're not restricted to that school or college when you are pursuing your degree. Quickly, I know we want to get to questions, so just a few things about our actual admissions and testing policies at Temple. So we are, as of this year, Common App exclusive, so all students will submit their application through the Common Application, and we have a test optional tests for national curricula, such as the IB curriculum, regardless of exam board, you are actually able to apply using predicted or anticipated results instead of SAT or ACT to support your application. So if you're an IB student and you wanted to use those predicted IB scores, your predicted A levels, or your predicted standard 12s in the Indian curriculum, again, you can use those instead of SAT or ACT. You're not required to submit those predictions, so you can apply simply with your transcript. But especially for those of you who may be in a curriculum where the internal grading may be more motivational in nature, and maybe doesn't 100% reflect your academic ability, we find that being able to submit predicted or anticipated final results really gives us a more well-rounded picture of your academics and often makes you eligible for a higher scholarship than you may be with your transcript alone. You can submit SAT or ACT as well if you believe that that would enhance your application. That's certainly something that you're allowed to do. But we do not have a preference, and we do not penalize students for not submitting a test score. So you make that decision based on how you think you're going to be able to put your best foot forward. In addition to that, for any of our IB or A-level students who are on the call today, we do also offer advanced credit. It's usually essentially for a C equivalent and higher. So there are some subjects where we will offer advanced credit for 5, 6s, and 7s in the IB, sometimes even 4 for both some standard level and higher level courses, as well as A level for C and above. For those of you who are in the IB curriculum, please know that any of the new math levels will be accepted at Temple for all of our majors. So regardless of which of the math levels you have chosen, whether it's standard level or higher level, whether it's application or analysis, you will be able to use those for all of our programs, including our business and science programs. So I'd rather just sort of go on to questions now. A lot of information about Temple you can find on our website. We have a virtual tour that I certainly would recommend that you go and visit. It allows you to basically walk through campus and see exactly what it's like, as well as recorded information sessions where you can hear a little bit more about the specifics about Temple and the application process as well. So happy to go on to questions, or Kim, however you'd like to move on.
Yes, thank you so much, Claire and Andrew. This has been really great. 1 second. Okay, so let me move on to some questions. And I think you guys both gave just enough, and now I have lots of questions to ask. So that's how it should be. Okay. All right. Oops. There we are. This is what we're doing. Onto that slide. I just wanted to make a point of keeping this up here for a minute for any attendees who want to later ask you guys questions. Your email addresses are both here, so please, for everyone watching, if you think you might have questions later, or you watch these presentations and you're like, oh my God, this college is my first choice, I have to stay in touch, there they are. So this is your opportunity to take down their email addresses. All right, so this first question that I have is that, this year we understand the sort of criteria and the way that applications are roughly evaluated, in a normal year. So this year, will either of you, have you already decided, or do you anticipate that there'll be big changes to, application evaluations, and how much, either what you'll be looking at or how much weight you'll be giving to certain things that you haven't in the past? So of course you've both spoken about SAT and ACT standardized test requirements. What about things like interviews, demonstrated interest, or other factors that sometimes come into play? So Claire, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, so I think, and Andrew's probably in the same situation, where we have an advantage of the fact that we already were an institution that had a flexible or a test optional policy. There are some universities that, in light of COVID-19, are now moving in that direction, though many of them only temporarily. But we were institutions that already had those policies in place. And so at Temple, we don't really envision having to change our process much, because we already have had a holistic approach to our review process, where we look at different elements of a student's application and not simply a test score. But I think certainly all of us are going to be very sensitive to how COVID-19 has impacted us. So I think we definitely will be looking to letters of recommendation to provide that context, to let us know how this may have impacted a student and their application. We'll be looking at essays or the additional information section in the Common Application. I believe the Common App is actually adding a question as well about how COVID-19 may have impacted you, so that you can provide some additional explanation as a student. So I think certainly we're going to be looking to make sure that we don't overlook some of the impact that COVID-19 has had on students' experiences. But I think that that's something that's already been a part of our process, and that we don't reduce students down to one number. We don't have minimum requirements at Temple. So really, I think we will just be continuing with what we're doing, but also being very sensitive to how students' lives may have been impacted over the last 6 months or so, and indeed for the next 12 to 18 months, if not longer.
Great. Andrew, do you want to add anything to that answer?
Yeah, Claire gave a very good answer, and I feel like we're coming from a similar perspective in terms of, we are test optional. We have had a holistic review process. I think one of the things that's important for students to know is, we're very committed to, being flexible and trying to understand how this has impacted students differently. So I think we will try to do our best to fully understand, what that particular school did in terms of a response to this, and understanding, how they were graded, or if there's going to be a lack of grades for a particular time. If it's were impacted significantly, or there's a lack of information for us that we will use some of that holistic classroom, or an essay particularly stands out. Those are predictors for success that we could use to kind of clear up, gaps where we might not have as much information. I know you mentioned demonstrated interest.
Yes.
We don't, at Bryant, we don't factor demonstrated interest into the initial decision. Having said that, students that are communicating with us and going to virtual tours and going to virtual events, there is the human part of it, that when you build those relationships, you kind of root for those students, or that helps them, but we don't factor it officially into the initial decision. I will say, for students, if you were in a situation where you were deferred admission, like if you applied early action and deferred to regular, or you were waitlisted, those demonstrated interest pieces can really help. Our interview process is optional, but I highly recommend it to students. It can be a great way to explain, how this crisis has impacted your educational path, or even just any other things.
Great. Okay. I think I am having, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, my internet keeps going in and out, so please go ahead.
You're good. So we don't track demonstrated interest, nor do we have interviews. We have over almost 40,000 applications a year, and so it's just not feasible. But certainly, if I meet a student on the road, or if I have a great interaction with them, or if I don't have a great interaction with them, that's something I might remember. But really, we try not to use those individual experiences in a student's review, because not all students have the opportunity to connect directly. Right. But I did want to sort of say that at Temple and to deny you. And so I think that our process moving forward is going to be even more flexible in that sense, because certainly there's going to be an impact at our universities as well. And we may be admitting more students than we have in the past, because we really want to make sure that students have the opportunity to come to Temple. So I would say that, just keeping in mind that we aren't there looking for faults to try and trick you and get you out of the running and to be attending our universities. We really are looking to find a good fit for you and trying to help you move forward in the right way.
Okay, that's helpful. I just also wanted to say this because it came up the other day in another conversation where, you know, a lot of students are asking about, you know, how will you be evaluating students in this process? And how is this affecting the applications you will see in the coming fall? But actually, current 9th and 10th graders are also very stressed about their transcript and their opportunity to perform and things like that. So I suppose you'll be sort of keeping this time period, looking at it in context for many years ahead.
Absolutely. And remember, and reminding students that we look at trends.
Right.
Year, but you know, you're able to rebound an upward trend. Certainly, we always take into consideration context, so we're already going to know that you had an impacted year, but then we're also going to on how did you a very severe beginning to your high school education. So certainly we're going to be keeping that in mind for all of the coming years of students who may have had, I like to call it a blip on the radar. It wasn't necessarily you know, anything that they had any control over, and when we look at everything else, all other signs lead to yes, and I think that's where we'll put more emphasis.
Great, thank you. Okay, I would like to both of you talked about the campus, and you talked about, you know, different sort of curriculum offerings. You talked about the location. You talked about the admissions process to some extent. So I just wanted to know, you know, if you think about what kind of students come to your campuses and do really well, you could talk about, you know, what kind of a student is that. So Andrew, I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bryant, just to reiterate, we're, you know, 35 undergraduate students. 95% of our first year students live on campus. 80% of all of our students live on campus throughout the 4 years. So I think first and foremost, you want to be if you're a student that wants to be in an environment where it's very relationship driven, where you're not going to know everyone, but you're going to form relationships with your professors. You're going to see familiar faces. If you kind of want that tight-knit community feel, those types of students, the environment's going to be a good fit for you. Academically, Bryant is very group project, presentations, so students with really strong, you know, communication skills, or even just students that want to develop those skills in terms of in the classroom, that is going to be a strong skill set for our students to want to have. And then even if you just look at our mission statement, you're going to find the word character. You're going to find you know, an international or a global perspective in the admissions admission or the mission statement. So students that have a global perspective, we do a nice job of integrating, you know, international concepts and opportunities into our curriculum. Students with strong character, I think a lot of universities would agree with that. And then also just this idea of being socially conscious and wanting to be a leader, not only on campus, but once you leave Bryant University as well. So those concepts are really important. And then also, I think, you know, a lot of our programming and the way the opportunities are very career focused. So students that have an interest in how things are going to connect to your career, I think they'll be successful as well too.
And at Temple, you know, we are, as I said, a large public institution, in an urban setting. So regardless of whether or not you are in Philadelphia, Tokyo, or in Rome, we are looking for students who want to be in that vibrant urban environment, who are students who are globally minded and either on the path to, or, you know, becoming, or already are a global citizen and really want to see how they can infuse that into their education. At Temple, there's a strong emphasis on community, not only the school and community itself in your major or your school and college, but the university and the community within which we sit. So we're very much connected to our community in North Philadelphia where we are based. And so that community focus, I think, is something that is key with our students. Students who thrive at Temple are students who are, I like to say, comfortable with the gray. So they know that there may not be one right answer, that it's about the journey to and the pursuit of truth, and that there may be multiple truths and multiple answers. And students who are comfortable with that level of inquiry and knowing that they may never get to the end of that rainbow, but that it's about that journey. And in the journey for our students is really about finding global solutions to global problems, and bringing students together from different perspectives who are going to be able to provide and create those solutions. So really that's the kind of student who thrives at Temple. As I mentioned, the community experience is extremely important. I'm not an American, and this is my first time ever living in America. I used to work for NYU abroad, and now I live here in Philadelphia. And so I'd never experienced the stereotypical American college experience of sitting in my office on a Friday and seeing the marching band walk across campus to get everyone ready for the pep rally for the homecoming American football game. I'd never experienced that. And that certainly is something that you feel when you're on Temple's campus, is that quintessential American college experience as well. That is something that, a lot of our students, that is one of the things that brought them to Temple, was being able to experience that while also experiencing, a world-class education. So that if that's what you're looking for, then you'll definitely thrive at Temple.
It's interesting that you both have, because one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because I think this is the only session that we're doing where we have a public and a private college together. And there are reasons for that, which I'll come to in a minute. But I think this is interesting because that was one of the things I was going to ask you is, for a lot of our audience, that concept is just, it's very American, private versus public. And I'm constantly explaining it, but I don't know that people necessarily get it except in terms of size. So I think both of you, what you've described in terms of what kinds of students would be successful in your universities has kind of captured the difference between, what these different kinds of institutions offer. So I think that's great. So those of you listening, that's the difference between public and private. Those are some of the differences. But going on to say, like I was saying, one of the reasons I think that we wanted you both to kind of speak together was because both of your programs are very popular among students who are interested in business. And I would like it if you can each take a minute to just say something unique about your business school program that might, sort of be relevant to the students who are interested. And I mean, I think I know what I would say, but I'll let you guys speak. So Claire, you can go ahead.
I'm actually going to enlist our Temple alum here that we have with us, Kunal, to answer this question, because he is a Fox Business School alum, so he can probably speak to the program a lot better than I can. So Kunal, would you mind sharing a snippet of what you think makes the Fox program unique?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak, Claire. So I think what really makes the Fox program unique is the hands-on experience that you have at Fox. It includes, if you're a business management major, you're not only sticking to business management, but you're taking an array of classes. So when you come out of Temple, you're basically having the skill sets to perform a large number of tasks, a large number of activities to add to your resume. Another thing that's really cool about Fox is that many of the students go on in the summer to do internships. And I think this is very important because not only are you getting hands-on real-world experience that are going to be applied to your work once you graduate, but you can actually actively apply to it as you're studying. So typically a Temple summer break is about 3.5 to 4 months. You do about 2 to 3 months of summer internship, and these internships are set up by your professors and the really awesome career center that we have on campus. And then that really helps you accentuate your studies and also help you hone your skills as to what would the right major be for you. The third, I think, differentiation would be with that many of the professors at Temple are leading their field in terms of their business advisors, their board of directors, and many of these companies are now coming to teach because they're passionate about it and really to pass their learning out here. And the fourth thing that would be is that you can dibble and dabble amongst so many different major and minor options. What do I mean by that? you can take an entrepreneurship major, but you can couple it with finance, or you can do a finance major and couple it with marketing. Even many of the classes out here, for example, like you can even do things that act to your practical personal life. And I don't want to take too much time right now from Andrew, but to share a few points, some of the finance classes, for example, have an actual virtual stock market where you'll be going every day. And that's where in the stock market, we have an actual stock market inside the business school. And that's where you'll be taking your classes, because they really want to give you the hands-on experience of how to invest and how to make a career in finance. So these are some of the options in brief, what you can learn out of a Temple degree. It's very hands-on, practical based, and geared towards a career not only during what you're studying, but also long-term. And that's certainly what Temple helped me do once I graduated. Thank you.
I'm muted, sorry. Thank you, Kunal. So Andrew, you can go ahead and talk about Bryant for a minute.
Yeah, so I know I'm supposed to be promoting Bryant, but I will give Temple a little credit. Our dean of our College of Business he's originally from India, outside of Hyderabad, and he has a degree from the Fox Business School, so we know the reputation there. So I mentioned Bryant has an AACSB accreditation. So that accreditation is, again, only 5% of institutions around the world have, and it gives some validity to our business curriculum. Actually, Dean Midan, who I just referenced, the way he would describe our business college is there's really 3 different paths. You have, international business or traditional business route, which would be, your marketing, management, accounting, and so on. And then you have, data sciences is kind of own different animal. So for our students that are interested in studying international business, you can still focus on management or marketing or accounting or entrepreneurship just under the lens of international business. So you can kind of have 2 different avenues there to pursue a certain concentration within the College of Business. I mentioned our international business program earlier. To me, it's terrific. It's, opportunity to go abroad and do an internship. We have a professor from Chile that takes students to do internship work in Chile, and then they also do observational work in Argentina. We have opportunities to do this in China, in Singapore, and Malaysia, in the south of France. And then an important thing always to remember for our business students is you're still going to have a combination with an area in the liberal arts or the arts and sciences, and this combination is very helpful to business students. I studied business undergrad, so I was marketing and finance, and I also have my MBA. And one of the things I think what Bryant really addresses that I lacked in my business education are some of the hands-on experiences. So the Archway Investment Fund, which does allow students to really, operate at a $1.8 million fund, which is real dollars that are being invested, and to understand those investment opportunities. Our international business student in their final year, they do a consultation project for an international business. So, really in that class and that semester, your professor is really kind of like your partner, but you're accountable by the actual company organization to meet their needs, to come up with a solution to the problem or the project that they're working on. And you're really graded on really being a consultant and relaying that information to your clients. We also have an international Chafee, the Chafee Center for International Business, where our students can pursue projects outside of the classroom, where it's really assisting local businesses or businesses from all over to help internationalize their business. And those provide some unique opportunities that really aren't a traditional internship, but still give you experiential learning opportunities and real world experience. And I would also say through our entrepreneurship program, we have something called Bryant Ventures, which really acts as an incubator. So it allows students to possibly get some grant dollars to invest into business ideas, but really creates an environment where they're able to start to plant their ideas for maybe some businesses that they want to develop once they graduate from Bryant.
That's great. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask both of you, are your business programs STEM designated?
The data science program is, but the rest, I'd have to double check. I know the data science is for sure, but I don't believe the rest of the business programs are STEM designated.
Okay. Claire, Kunal?
Go ahead, Kunal. I think you wanted to answer. You're muted though.
Can you hear me now? Sorry. We have a couple of STEM designated programs at Temple. We have our actuarial science and risk management program, which is one of the best in the country. I think the concept of risk management and actuarial science was actually started at Temple by this guy called Dr. Bryant, who's one of the leading researchers. So we have that. We have statistics, and then of course we have we have economics, but a part of it. So and there's also MIS. So these are the 4 or 5 majors. If you are focused on getting that STEM OPT and getting that STEM preferred degree, then I would recommend your students to take one of these majors.
And MIS, just for those who aren't familiar with the acronym, is Management Information Systems.
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
One more question about business is, and you can answer this for engineering as well, or any other subject any other major that has specific subject requirements. So if a student has not, say, for example, studied math at all, if they did commerce with no math, and they apply to business, or if they've done, or I think you mentioned, Claire, in the IB, any math is okay.
Correct. Yeah. So at Temple, we will get you where you need to be. Okay. So especially because we know, depending on the curriculum, some students do not have a choice. And even if they have a choice, that choice might not be theirs. It may end up being the school's or the parents' choice in the end. So certainly, yes. So if our students do not have senior level math, they can still apply into any of the majors, business, engineering, et cetera. They'll have a math placement, as all of our students do when they enter, and then they may have to sort of double up perhaps in math in those first few semesters to get where they need to be, but we will get them there. Okay. So we don't have any subject requirements, whether it's for engineering or for our science programs. Regardless of what a student is interested in, they will be able in that first semester or first year to gain what they need to be able to be successful in that major.
Okay, super. Andrew, anything different?
Bryant's very similar in terms of if you meet the admission standards and meet what's required of you from the particular curriculum that you're pursuing, you'll be eligible for admission into the institution. It is a little bit interesting for us because our U.S. domestic students, they are required to meet a minimum of a pre-calculus course or 1 year beyond Algebra 2. But from an international standpoint, we really understand that different curriculums have different requirements and expectations of students. So it's a similar process in terms of we have a math placement course, and we'll make sure that students are placed into the appropriate level once they come to Bryant.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, I am moving on to, I think we spoke about this before we started, and maybe some people hadn't sort of logged on yet. And this is about campus safety in general. So you can talk about anything that your colleges do with regards to campus safety, especially I think they really represent 2 sides of a coin. It's like, okay, my child is in a really remote place in Rhode Island, or my child is in the middle of Philadelphia. So which one is, there are risks everywhere. But the point is, a lot of student parents are asking us now, what did X or Y college do when this pandemic started, when colleges started closing? So if you can quickly talk about that, I think we are getting short of time, but if you can quickly just tell us, what measures were taken and how the college responded. Claire?
Sure. So, so as I was mentioning at the top of the call, but I don't think any of the students were on yet, we do have a campus, as I mentioned, in Rome, and we had to evacuate that campus quite quickly before the situation got severe in Italy. So we were proactive in right before spring break, telling our students that we were going to evacuate them. And so we brought them all back to their home countries, a large number of them coming back to the US, and immediately had their courses turned online so that they wouldn't lose any of their studies. On campus in Philadelphia, as soon as the state ordered the shutdown, we evacuated students from campus. We do have some international students who are still on campus who are being taken care of, with food and accommodation and mental health resources, et cetera, additional programming that's all gone virtual. But Safety is our number one concern when it comes to students. Yes, academic continuity is important, but the first thing, 1A is making sure students are safe. 1B is making sure that students' academic continuity is in place. And so even during normal times, we are very preventative and proactive in what we do on campus. So it's not about that there has been an incident and therefore we're reacting to it and putting situations in place to make students safer. We plan on sort of worst case scenarios so that those things don't happen. So whether that's our blue light system on campus, whether that's our walking escorts, our shuttle services, et cetera, are all there on campus to make sure that we don't have an issue that we have to deal with in the future. And especially being in the heart of the city, we have to realize that we are not just open to our students, we're open to the city. And so, our security is not just thinking about what students might encounter, but what the entire population may encounter, and being able to be proactive in preparing for that. And when it comes to thinking about the return in the fall as well, certainly we will be directed by our state or Commonwealth government, and we will be given direction from the CDC about what we can and cannot do and when we can do it, and we will follow those instructions. But certainly daily, if not hourly, on campus, we are having meetings about how to ensure the safety of our students if and when we can reopen our campuses, and whether that is with masks and temperature taking and testing and tracing on campus, or if it is making our class sizes even smaller, if it's dispersing our dormitories so that students are not living with roommates or whatever it might be. We'll take that guidance from the government and from the CDC and the World Health Organization, and we will implement those plans. But again, it's student safety first, and we have multiple contingencies in place for whatever we're able to do at the end of August, whether that's remaining online or being able to be open fully.
Great. Okay, thank you. Andrew, anything to add to that?
Very similar in the response in terms of putting student safety first and creating a safe environment. We have a campus in Zhuhai, China, which is a partnership with the Beijing Institute of Technology. So it was interesting for us. We actually kind of were able to consult with them and how they handled their shutdown. So we were able to be a little bit proactive there. We closed our camp, we went to online classes while we were over spring break, which made it kind of a nice transition for us. We were able to fully move to online classes, and it's still fully faculty led, and students have that opportunity. We created a safe move out plan for students. We created, like I said, a safe environment for our international students that had to remain on campus. Just an interesting note, our Office of International Students and Scholars, they have a weekly Zoom call with all international students. Our president of our university was even on that call to just try to understand how this might affect students that are living in different time zones or different places as well. So yeah, I guess I was just impressed with the proactive approach. And again, like Claire said, putting safety first.
Right. Okay, I feel like we're like almost out of time. You have 5 minutes left, and I have not even come to the questions that I have prepared. But one question I think everybody is always wants to know about is financial aid. So do you offer need-based financial aid to international students, or merit-based? How does it work? Do people need to apply and apply separately? And speaking of applying separately, I had this in my notes from earlier. Claire, can you also speak briefly about Temple in Rome, Temple in Japan, and all of that? Is the application process different?
For sure. Okay, so really quickly, as far as applying for admission, the Temple main campus and the Temple Rome campus is one application through the Common App. So in that application, you could indicate your preference, whether or not main campus or Rome, or even our Ambler campus, which is our suburban campus outside of Philadelphia, whichever of those may be your preference. If you are interested in applying to the Temple Japan campus, it's a separate application and a separate admissions process completely. So at the moment, those two processes are separate, different requirements, etc. So really important that students do that research. So for Maine and Rome campuses, as far as financial aid is concerned, this is maybe where Andrew and I will differ perhaps, is that Temple does not offer need-based financial aid. We offer merit-based financial aid at the moment. And so you are not required to fill in an additional form. You're automatically considered for merit-based scholarships at Temple, regardless of citizenship, et cetera. We do have some additional scholarships. We are actually one of the founding universities of the #YouAreWelcome scholarship, which is an international specific scholarship where we offer to students $20,000 a year scholarships based on an additional application that they fill in, and they talk to us about how they will have an impact as an international student on our campuses. And so that is an additional scholarship that students would apply for, but our merit scholarships are automatically considered. They range from $1,000 a year to full tuition. However, being very transparent, it is a handful of full tuition scholarships, maybe 3 or 4. So students who do require full need would not find that support, unfortunately, at Temple. There will, to be very honest, there will be a gap between what we're able to offer and what the total cost of attendance is. The good news is that since we're a public institution, our total cost of attendance is often half the price of many other universities, so it can be more affordable. But it is important for all students to note that we will not be able to provide them with a full total cost of attendance scholarship.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Andrew, anything about financial aid?
I'll go quick because it's going to be very, very similar. You're automatically considered for merit scholarship at Bryant University. You'll know that at the time of admission if you are to be admitted. It ranges anywhere from $5,000 to $35,000 per year, renewable for 4 years. There is a specific international student scholarship that we review students for during their application review process, but it will still fall in that range that I just mentioned. And no other application is considered. You're just considered with the common application.
And it's a need-based application, or sorry?
It is not. It's merit-based. Yes.
Fine. So international students should not apply for need-based financial aid.
Yeah, not at Bryant. Yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. All right. So I think before we go, just want to know from each of you, as students are, worried about the coming year or the coming years, depending on what grade they're in right now and the situation, any piece of advice you can give them to either address that situation or in general, what kind of advice would you give to international students, applicants? Claire?
My biggest piece of advice that I give all students, regardless of this situation, is to remember that there are 4,500 US universities and colleges, and then there are hundreds and thousands of universities around the world as well. So there are lots of options. And I bet you if we asked everyone who is on this call today how many US universities they know, they might be able to list 10 or 20, and they probably will all overlap listing probably 10 or 20 of the same, which is what makes US universities so much more competitive, because the majority of students are applying to 3% of the universities. So my advice to students is to keep your options open and to do your research, and that if imagine you're going to apply to 10 universities, half of that list should include universities you never heard of before you started the process. Otherwise, in my opinion, you haven't done your research. So remember that admission to a US university is about fit. Being competitive does not mean that you will be admitted. And so you really need to do your research and apply to a variety of institutions that will fit you so that you can be matched with some right ones.
That's excellent advice. Thank you so much. Andrew?
Yeah, Claire, that is wonderful advice. I would second that. My advice, I think, sometimes comes down to the evaluation process for different universities. And I think it's easy to become very singular focused into what you're looking at from a particular university. And I think understanding that, the U.S. Department of Labor is going to say you're going to have 6 to 7 jobs throughout the course of your lives. 30% of the jobs that'll exist just 5 years from today don't even exist yet. 70% of undergraduate students in the US will switch their major. If you went back 10 years and someone told you that the world's largest taxi company wasn't going to own any cars in Uber, you wouldn't believe them. So just understanding that flexibility can open a lot of doors for you. So you might have a particular major that you're interested in right now, and you definitely want to pursue that, and you want to find universities that will offer that. But understanding, if I do major in that, what can I combine that major with that will help support my career aspirations? And then what opportunities outside of the classroom can I have to help support, my whole well-rounded education that's going to best position me going into the workforce.
Great. I think that's really good advice as well. And I love how both of you, the advice you've given and the things you've said are really aligned with, what your universities offer and the way that you look at, admitting students and advising them and all of that. So thank you so much for your time. It's been really wonderful. Thank you, Kunal, for joining us. And we will certainly direct students to Claire and you and Andrew and everyone who has further questions. Yeah, I guess that's it for us. And we will, I guess, be in touch with, ask our students to be in touch with you. And we wish you a really great day.
Mm-hmm.